do a little bit of a recap. We've got a lot of new members that have obviously joined the chapter over the last 6 to 12 months, which is fantastic. And obviously give you a little bit of an update on where we're at, and at the end hopefully give you a bit of an insight into a couple of little technologies that are coming out in the next few years. So obviously with the current state of things, I thought firstly I'd say go to All Blacks. Believe it or not, those cats were white when we started. That's the level of commitment we actually go to. Basically, one of the things that we obviously get into is a bit of history. Almost 10 years in business with DRE. Essentially 20 years of experience, believe it or not, in the computer industry, which is a bit scary in itself. Store manager of the year 2004 for DSE, so I worked for Smith Electronics for around about 14 years, and I was a store manager there for 8. Won all sorts of awards in this sort of 6 or 7 years, and that's actually how DRE started. We actually went out there and started a franchise in fielding, primarily retail, and then slowly moved into the IT side of things when we realised that we had a real niche and we're far better suited to doing business IT than actually just selling boxes like the retailers love to do. So, due to demand, obviously we've changed the business now, we've brought it back to Palmerston. Funnily enough, even when we were based in fielding, around about 80% of the business, IT-wise in particular, was coming from outside of fielding, so it just made sense. And we're fully mobile and experienced in IT. I've got 2 other gentlemen that work for me. One of them is really good with his customer service and accounts, and those sort of bits and pieces. And then Danny, who actually comes from England, and he is primarily he's a hardware technician, so it doesn't matter what laptop, PC or anything else that's available, like myself, he can strip it down and put every screw back in the right hole. So seems to be a bit of a problem some of the other IT companies have. To put things in perspective, this laptop sitting here, it's a $6,000 laptop. It was written off by 2 IT companies, so they actually wrote it off and said that it couldn't be fixed, it was liquid damage. Cost a $54 part to put it back together. Okay. So that's the sort of stuff basically that you've got to be very wary of and make sure that when you're actually using an IT company, they actually do have knowledge in the field that they're actually looking at. So, you know, for something as simple as that, we had to strip it right down to find that part in the middle and obviously to replace it and know where to get it from outside of New Zealand. But the reality was, you know, for something that was written off by 2 other companies, it was fully fixable, not really much of an issue. So what is DRE? Put simply, DRE is an IT company that is aimed at not working for, but with people at home, small and medium businesses and educational institutes, and be able to achieve success through up-to-date, future-proof, cost-effective IT solutions. And I think those 3 things are really important. You've got to make sure that whatever we're putting into a business or into a home is not only basically going to make a difference, because if it doesn't, there's no point in doing it in the first place, but it's got to fit that budget, it's got to fit the company or fit the profile of the person wanting that information. Our goal has never been to do it all, but also to be the centre of it and have the companies and people available and aligned with us to fill any gap that presents itself. And that's really where B&I has been massive for us. You know, having those people and those other companies that do the things we don't, available to really step in and fill those gaps and get stuck in and make a real difference outside of the stuff we do. Jeff, for example, obviously with the CCTV and alarms, it's huge to be able to do that. Paul basically is another one that I call on quite regularly now to be able to do the wiring and other bits and pieces that we don't get into. And you always know you get the job, you always know that basically they're going to come to the same level that you hope to achieve yourself. So. One of the things we did was a little bit of a rebrand, so you see on the side of the ute. One of the things we had was Titan written underneath the DR Electronics. Sort of tried to come up with something that would actually encompass what it is we get up to, and I mean that's really it, total IT and networking. So if it's available and it can be done, we'll give it a shot. So basic services, there's no one size fits all. IT basically can't have a cookie cutter design like some IT companies will tell you. In a lot of cases you'll get a person walk in the door and tell you that, oh, we've done it for 5 other companies, so this exact way will work for you. It's never the case. There's always going to be a difference, there's always going to be a reason why we need to do it different. Everyone has their own opinion in IT, and that is really what it is. Like every business, it is an opinion. We try to make sure that we don't actually use those opinions. What we try and do is match something that is actually fact and has some basis for our companies that we work for. So, longevity and change of priority. Cheap is cheap, cheap is not good value. So if you put something cheap into your business, you put something cheap into your IT structure, expect cheap results, expect basically that it will only last a couple of years. If you spend a little bit of money and you do it right, you basically buy or you get stuck into a product that actually works for you, You know, we've got a client that we put PCs into, must have been now 6-7 years ago, and those machines are getting serviced. They're working absolutely perfectly now. You know, and they've got no reason to change, and they won't need to change those machines for another 3 or 4 years because they bought the right equipment at the right level to start with. So what do we actually do? So hardware, we sell laptops and computers. We've obviously got tablets and mobile devices, which are becoming bigger. Mobile is in. Networking hardware, wireless hardware, all accessories, mice, keyboards, IP surveillance equipment, some of that stuff basically, but only on a basic home sort of use for things like Skype and those sort of things. The rest will leave up to Jeff. Servers and high-end hardware. But obviously that servers side of things is becoming less and less. It's an area that obviously with everything moving to the cloud, it's not really needed anymore. In a lot of cases you can end up wadding a lot of money basically for something that is just going to be an ongoing cost and a recurring problem. So we also cater for nearly every brand you can think of. We use around about up to 30 different suppliers to get product from. It's something we've started doing a lot more in the last year or two is a lot of importing. So even parts, like I say, you know, with this laptop for example, we were able to import the actual replacement parts internally that you just couldn't find in New Zealand just because we know where you're not. Software, obviously all operating systems, Microsoft and Apple, we do both. All Office products, accounting software, CRM software, POS software, testing software and applications and gaming. Basically, software is a vehicle to achieving whatever results or goals you require, and unfortunately people view a PC as the hardware, and it's actually not. The reality is the hardware is really only there as an engine to drive what it is you want it to do, or what you want it to achieve. Data and storage, so we create redundancy of data, retrieve lost data, and I think we were looking at it the other day, we've got around about a 90% success rate on that. So that's pretty high. I mean, we've had drives come in where we've had to do some pretty extraneous stuff to try and get it to actually work. And you know, from a person who's lost all their wedding photos, you know, to basically a company that's got, you know, years and years and years of accounting information they can't afford to lose. You know, we'll go that extra mile and make sure that we try and get it back. The reality is there's only one level up from us, and that is we send those drives away to a company in Wellington or Auckland, and you get a bill probably for no less than around about $5,000 for them to strip that drive literally to the disk, and they use a special machine that they basically pull it off. So we can do everything right up to that point. We get into solid state drives now, that's become huge, no moving parts, uses about a quarter of the amount of power, and where a standard hard drive has a failure rate of around 5%, solid state drives are 0.002%, so it's a hell of a difference. Believe it or not, the hard drive in the PC is probably the piece that has the highest failure rate, yet it's also part of the machine that actually stores all the data. I mean, I can't figure that out either, but it's one of those things. We just see them fall over randomly for no reason all the time. And because of that spinning disk inside, you know, laptops in particular take a knock, and that's it. So the solid state drives take that out of the equation, make your data a lot safer and a lot faster. Cloud services, 2 minutes to go. Thanks, Greg. Google Apps for business, so we're a qualified Google reseller. We do all the basically Office products that they supply there. Email, calendar, contacts, cloud storage. We've got probably about 8 different providers we use for that. Central hub for mobile data, application and apps, mobility and mobile computing, which as mentioned before is becoming massive. Private and public access to files. Business today is getting mobile, that's what it's all about, and the cloud helps you to achieve that, and that's really what it's all about. So how can B&I help? Marketing obviously is the bane of everybody's existence, trying to work out what we actually need to use. We really need B&I, just like all of you guys do, to put our name out there. I mean, we rely on word of mouth, we rely on our clients basically telling other clients where we are and how we are and who we are. We're only a smaller business in regards to budget for that sort of thing in marketing, so it's a huge way, and it's something that working with Dave Gaynor over the years, it's been a real sort of push-pull system where we would like people to just walk in the door rather than going out and finding them, I guess, like everybody does. So B&I's been absolutely successful for that over the years. I mean, we've had a huge amount of business through it, and I'd really like to say thanks to everybody who's basically supported us. It's fantastic, so hopefully that continues. That image there's the cockpit, as it were. So that's actually my office. We do a lot of stuff now that's all based around remote servicing and also cloud services, so I needed a fairly grunty machine to get stuck into that. We are small, but at the end of the day, just the area there, you can see there's one of the offices, and then the second one, we can actually service up to 9 machines at once. So with 3 of us running through that sort of stuff, I mean, there's no limit to basically how much work we can actually achieve in that office. So don't be fooled by the fact that we're a little bit smaller. We can get through the work, not a problem. So that's an image of the before and after. So that's the gear that basically went into the beast that she's known. And that PC basically is water cooled, runs 1.2 litres of glycol in it. One of the things that it achieves is the fact that if it didn't have that equipment in it, it would have been running at about 95 degrees because it's so heavily overclocked. With all that equipment and the water cooling, basically we're able to create a system that runs at 40 degrees summer, winter. Basically doesn't matter what the temperature is. In fact, it actually runs cooler than the ambient air temperature around the case. So it's pretty impressive stuff. But that's the sort of level of knowledge we have. So just a couple of things I thought I'd mention as a final. Technology is ever moving. You'll never keep up with it, so don't try. Make sure that you basically ask the questions and get a professional to give you a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more of guidance with forthcoming technologies. But here's a couple of amazing things, obviously, since we're talking about Marty McFly and Back to the Future. Current new tech, obviously, is Windows 10's just launched. You've actually just seen me use the new Office 2016 to do the PowerPoint, so that's just come out in the last month as well, the latest version of that. Obviously the VR is getting huge, virtual reality with the headsets. Had a play with one of those the other day actually in a fighter scenario, like flying a plane, and seriously I had vertigo for about an hour afterwards. It was so realistic, it's incredible. But here's some things coming up. So in the next 2 years you're going to see a sunscreen pill. Doesn't sound like tech, but it is. I mean, it's one of those things where it's actually going to be able to stop your skin from getting the sun. There's a new technology called Light Peak launching in the next year or 2. So currently with fibre that you guys are all seeing getting installed around the place, it transfers up to basically a gig in speed. This new Light Peak system, which is basically using that same technology but taking it to the next level, will be able to do 1,000 gig. And so it's basically 1,000 times faster than the current technology for fibre. In 2019, believe it or not, the average PC will be faster than the human brain. So that's basically how quickly technology is moving on.